As I was doing my research, I found that there were a lot of things that I could use to structure my arguments and provide the evidence down here in my body paragraphs. So, I wanted to share a little bit with you about what I found and how it might work together. I looked for outside support. In other words, that came from articles and research that I did. I also thought about, and this one particularly came from an anecdote that I found in the research. um, I also found quotations that would help me, and I thought also that personal experience might be a good way to add those things in there. Um, so, what I want to look at is how I might organize these things here. Um, I've got my con reason right here. And what I want to do is build into figuring out how I can use my evidence that I found is to say, hey, I agree with you. And what I found from the text that we read from Williams Dahl is there were multiple instances in which I could use that to help say that, yeah, you're right. That's going to happen. As we saw in the story we read, the boy was seriously made fun of what was going on with that. Um, I think another thing that we can use is begin to think about if you do work through those ideas and accept that. I found some evidence about con for here that really helps prove that it has long term consequences. So I have right here, unfortunately, boys have been discouraged for playing with girl items for decades, treated with contempt, and told dolls are for sissies. And this writer, um, who has researched and written a lot about this, says this: my 84-year-old father, after reading my article in this magazine on the gender marketing of toys, recalled how badly he wanted a beautiful doll he saw in a shop window during his childhood. Dad asked me earnestly, do you think Nana did the right thing? Or was she wrong to tell me no? So this 84-year-old man is still questioning. So it kind of provides a transition in here. Yeah, you're right. They're going to make fun of you. But is that really the kind of thing that's worth it in the long term? So I'm beginning to transition out of the con into providing more evidence for why my position is really powerful. So, one of the things that I found here is learning to care for a doll is the first step in learning to care for a child. I can say, as a matter of fact, in this piece of evidence that I had, you find that 187 participants at the Fortune magazine's most powerful women in business summit, one third of them, the women's husbands, were stay at home dads. So, if we're really going to be successful, one of the things we might learn how to do is find value in being a, um, a stay at home dad and adding to the world with things that were that way. Another one that I found right here that really helps connect with refuting that argument that society isn't going to accept them. This comes from, I think it was a different, yeah, it wasn't this same lady, but somebody else that was writing about the same thing. She says, while girl toys promote nurturing and relationship building, healthy people know how to balance all of these traits. Giving boys the chance to explore nurturing and connecting with others opens up opportunities for them to build important life skills. I can use that as evidence to weave into what I'm going to say about my position and using that to provide evidence and support of why it's really important to do that and offer that opportunity. I also have text evidence that I could use to structure and weave in. And I can say, as a matter of fact, what we read about in William's doll is that it didn't really have anything to do with he enjoyed those other kinds of toys as well. And so he wanted to learn how to he wanted all of those things. He wanted that balance that Shoemaker talks about in that article, and using that part really might add to kind of what we were looking for is a mini Nestorian order right here that I'm able to use my text evidence to provide that bang at the end to trigger at the emotional appeal that I want my reader to have in considering my stance. I think that you can see that by using these cards as manipulatives and beginning to consider all of the perspectives that you've looked at and considered with your research, you can begin to understand better ways that you can organize both the order of your organizational patterns of the paragraphs that you choose, but also the way that you begin to use them to structure and transition from one thing to the other, as well as how you're going to organize and structure the order and connect the evidence within a paragraph as well, that leads to a really powerful um, written response. What I'd like to see you do now is think about what you would do with this in the classroom. Most of the time, what I do is I will go ahead and I will have these cards already printed out for the kids. Then I will let them choose a working thesis statement. And so they are either going to choose the con or the pro. And then as I introduce each one of the structures, I will go ahead and have them manipulate it in the way they felt that it was best. Then what I want to do is teach the lessons of how do we then take our reasons and then the research that we have done and put that into a coherent paragraph that really delivers our thesis to the reader. I'm interested to see what you think and what you come up with. Be sure to post your ideas and reflections in the response sheet.